Good morning, it's Mary on July 28th. I am going to talk a little bit about Uniting for Ukraine, which is the program that has allowed us to take our Ukrainian refugees, Victoria, Artem, and Maxim. I'll talk another day. I'll talk a little bit more about them, but today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the program because other people seem to be interested in it, and there are lots of other Ukrainians who are looking for sponsors in America. So the United States has agreed to take in 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. Their situation is that they need to have American sponsors who are willing to house them, feed them, help them get settled. The Ukrainians, at the current time, the Ukrainians are allowed to stay for only 2 years, and they have to go back to Ukraine, although obviously that can be extended depending on what happens with the war. One is making a specific commitment to their refugees to house them, feed them, clothe them, take care of, entertain them, take care of whatever it is that they need for 2 years. But it's not quite as scary as it sounds. The refugees, immediately when they arrive in the United States, are eligible for Medicaid, food stamps. They'll be able to get green cards whenever the, machinations of the bureaucratic system get done, and they'll be able to work. So it's not quite that we're, fully taking the refugees on economically, which was my biggest stop when I heard about this program, was that I was afraid, because of my personal history of getting, totally out of the blue, getting leukemia. I was afraid, oh my gosh, what if we were to take in some refugees, and God forbid this happened to one of them, because that's super expensive medical treatment, and they get Medicaid. So we are protected from that. And Doug tells me that the program is actually set up so that, yes, you are expected to support your refugees, but if something like that happens, you are not that you can't be sued to pay their medical expenses. So it's not quite as scary as it sounds. They also come with, they also are eligible for food stamps, so they will immediately start providing some of their own support. They're eligible for green cards. Most of the Ukrainian refugees had lives very much like ours. They had jobs, they have skills, they have, many of them were already working from home and can continue working from home regardless of, what continent that home is in. It's not, many of them come with their own support. So it's not quite as daunting a situation as it sounds like initially. Our refugee, Victoria, owned a child care center in Ukraine before she came here, so she obviously has lots of very, very transferable skills. There are, if you're interested in sponsoring or finding out more about it, there are a couple of Facebook groups. The name of the program is Uniting for Ukraine. You can Google Uniting for Ukraine, and there are all kinds of Facebook groups where you can find out more. There are people who are looking for sponsors like our refugees are, that they need a place to live, they need people to help support them. There's people who are looking for sponsors simply on paper. They have cousins or uncles or whatever in Chicago who cannot sponsor them legally because they have whatever, they're not citizens or whatever, but they are completely able to support them financially, and the sponsor doesn't ever need to do anything with the refugee except fill out the paperwork. So there's a fairly wide variety. There are also organizations that will take the sponsorship part on and are simply looking for help in finding a place for the refugees to live. So there's a pretty wide variety of ways in which one can sponsor. The paperwork is actually not that onerous. And if you decide to do it and you need help with the paperwork, I'm here, you know where to find me. So it's something to consider. It worked out nicely for us. We are empty nesters. Ellie got an apartment and moved out. So we have, and when we bought the house, we specifically bought a house with a guest bedroom because we wanted people to come visit us. So now we have, now we have 2 empty bedrooms. Well, we won't for long. So our guests will have to sleep on, our old friends who come to visit us will have to sleep on the couch. But that'll be okay. It's an okay trade-off for a couple of years. Thank you for listening. And tomorrow or the next day, depending on how well I do at getting up early, I'll make a video specifically about Victoria, Artem, and Maxim. And I don't know. I guess one more thing I did want to say is, I think about if the situation were reversed and someone was bombing our beautiful world here, which honestly breaks my heart to even think about. Doug and I might well decide to stay and protect what we could from invaders, but Victoria is actually only 3 years older than my older daughter, and that just really touches my heart that, I'm so lucky to be here, so lucky to be American. And I didn't do anything to get that. So I want to do what I can to help other people. Enjoy the bounty that I have, I guess. It's probably a fair way to say it. For me, the Ukrainians are just extremely, extremely relatable. I was raised in a household that spoke Polish. They're middle-class folks with jobs and houses and lives, and one day they were living a life that looks like mine, and then the next day they were looking for sponsors in the United States. So anyway, it makes one think. I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. Thanks for listening.